Welcome to New Student Orientation for the Department of Physics and Astronomy. Presumably you are a physics major. I'm going to outline our slides here. I'm Dr. Chad Sosalik. I'm the undergraduate program coordinator for the Department of Physics and Astronomy. I'm going to give you a brief introduction or welcome to our department and then talk about advising and how we do advising in our department. And then move directly to the physics curriculum, which is what you're interested in, I'm sure, and how you're going to develop your individual registration plan. I'm going to mention this several times, but the important persons here besides myself are Ms. Celeste Hackett, our Student Services Coordinator, and Dr. Joan Marler, one of our academic advisors, who will serve as your academic advisor. Presumably, we may have been in contact with you already. So welcome to the Department of Physics and Astronomy. We are a group of faculty and lecturers who focus on research and teaching. Our undergraduate population is about 80 plus students. Our graduate population is also about 80 plus students. That means you're moving into a department where the graduate population does not outnumber you. In fact, you're very similar in size, and we really do need you in our department to do our research with us. So we look forward to having you join us. As you make your way through your degree at Clemson University in physics, your advising will be done by faculty advisors. What that means is we're not professional advisors. You actually will be advised by professional PhD physicists who've gone through this process themselves. We will meet with you beyond this orientation. We will meet with you to discuss class scheduling for the fall and the spring semesters, typically every November and the following April. In those meetings, we'll discuss all your other concerns besides class scheduling, such as issues you might be having with your classes, academic issues, any need for access to campus resources. We can help you with that. Helping you get opportunities in research, and then discussing things such as change of major. That doesn't just mean leaving physics. That could mean adding a second major, adding a minor to your physics degree. The physics degree itself, we have curriculum maps for that, but I'm going to go over the three main degrees that are within the physics department. The first and most common is the Bachelor of Science or BS degree. This is most likely the one that you're slated to participate in. This has an emphasis on the techniques or skills that you need to be a professional physicist, whether you're going to pursue a career in physics or astronomy. If you're planning on going on to graduate school, this is considered the standard and best preparation for moving on to graduate school in physics and astronomy. This degree has a set of 12 credits associated with it, which we call an emphasis area. This allows you to take electives in one of these 6 or 7 specific areas you see below, and I'll talk more about that in a subsequent slide. We do have a second degree path, which is also a Bachelor of Science or BS, which expands this emphasis area out into something we call the interdisciplinary emphasis area. This is a much more flexible choice. It opens up 21 credits instead of 12. This is something you won't have to choose today or not even for the next year. This is chosen with the advisor's approval at the end of your sophomore year. What this allows for is it allows you to do things such as overlapping minor degrees or even facilitate dual degrees outside of physics, such as in mathematics or in one of the engineering disciplines or elsewhere. Currently, about 60% of our majors end up doing the Bachelor of Science, and the others do the interdisciplinary emphasis Bachelor of Science. We do have a third degree, which is the Bachelor of Arts, which requires a minor and has a foreign language requirement. It's very rare that a student does that, but if that is a path for you, then you can discuss that with the advisor. Within your physics degree, you're going to find there's some standard required courses. You're going to start off in your first 2 years doing an introductory sequence that involves mechanics, Newtonian mechanics, electromagnetism, and these are basically Physics 1 and Physics 2. Physics 3 will be a course in waves and optics with a little bit of special relativity. And then finally a course in modern physics, which will take us from about the 19th century to today. So it fills in a lot of the things that we've learned about particle and nuclear physics, solid state physics, etc. In that second year, you also pick up specific full-blown classes in our laboratory classes in electronics. This is a hands-on electronics building course, and modern physics. There are also laboratories associated with each of the first three courses up here: mechanics, electromagnetism, and waves and optics. As you get to the end of the second year, you'll be taking techniques courses that carry over into your junior years, which are one course on mathematical methods, and then a course in computational physics. Beyond the first 2 years in physics, then, you move into advanced coursework, taking classical mechanics, but now with a full suite of mathematical tools behind you, then doing mechanics, but in a statistical way, and then finally revisiting electromagnetism, and then doing quantum physics your senior year. We do have one required chemistry course. This is Chemistry 1010. It comes with a co-requisite lab, Chemistry 1011. There are a sequence of 4 required mathematics courses, which we'll talk about at least the first one in a subsequent slide, which takes you from Math 1060 through 2080. We have a 1 credit hour course in professional development, which you would take in your freshman year, so it's probably something you'll sign up for next semester. In your sophomore year, typically you take an Introduction to Research, which is a seminar course to prepare you to do research with a physicist or an astronomer in our department. And then finally, we do have a computer science requirement, which is currently one of the 3 courses I list here. So if we talk now about the physics BS and the difference between the single discipline, I'll just reinforce the fact that we have a 12 credit single discipline emphasis, which is one of the 7 areas you see here. Then we have the 21 credit interdisciplinary emphasis. And the reason that the difference between the 2 of these exist, and I'm sure that someone will have to remind you of this later, but I'm going to say it again, say it first time here, is that when you move into the interdisciplinary emphasis, which would be selected with your advisor at the end of the sophomore year, 3 of our upper level physics courses become optional. These 3 courses are Methods of Theoretical Physics Part 2, Electromagnetism Part 2, and Quantum Mechanics Part 2. So that's 3, 6, 9 credits that are now optional. It means you can still take them, but you don't have to. If we take these 9 credits, add them to the original 12 credits that were in a single discipline emphasis, we now have 21 credits that we can allow you to take wherever you would like, as long as it's selected with your advisor. The interdisciplinary emphasis, to sort of double down on that, can be counted toward a minor at the Clemson University. Typically that's 16 credits, so we allow you to double count the 21 credits of your emphasis. Whatever fraction of those needs to go toward a minor, you can count them both for the physics BS and for the minor. A fraction of these can also instead facilitate a dual degree, so you may want to get a physics degree and get a degree in engineering or mathematics or computer science, and we have plenty of examples of students do that. The interdisciplinary emphasis area is kind of wide open. As you can see, I have a list below of recent areas, and you can see it extends from astrophysics to philosophy. The reason students take an interdisciplinary area in astrophysics is because we don't specifically offer a degree in astrophysics, but we offer a lot of astrophysics courses. So students will use the interdisciplinary emphasis to open up elective hours so they can take all of our astrophysics courses. But you can see there's a wide range of things that students do here, including English, political thought, nuclear engineering. So basically it's up to you. Presumably in your second year and beyond, you're going to want to look into doing physics research. This is how you're going to figure out what kind of physicist you would like to be. So we have 3 typical areas that we use to allow you to get course credit in undergraduate research. And I just go over these now, though you may not actually dip into these until your sophomore year and beyond. The first is Physics 2900. This is just individual projects with a faculty member. The second is the creative inquiries. You can see that there's 3 of these for sophomore, junior, and senior year. These are typically team projects, and these extend outside of physics as well. So you'll find creative inquiry across the entire campus. And then finally is Physics 4010, which is a senior thesis. And this is the one class in this list which is required. So every student in the physics program is required to do at least 3 credit hours of Physics 4010 to do senior thesis credit. So advising for fall registration, so your goal here is to develop a plan for what you're going to take in the fall. And although I've talked about the Physics BS and the BS Interdisciplinary, at this point there's no difference between them because this won't begin until your junior year, which means your sophomore year you would make a decision whether your junior year you want to take that first optional course, which is Methods of Theoretical Physics Part 2 or Physics 3120. So this is something that was really just something for you to think about, but you won't have to jump into that until your junior year. So a standard schedule for you that you might select going into this first fall semester would be the following classes. The first is that classical mechanics or mechanics course, Physics 1 or Physics with Calculus Part 1. It's a 3 credit hour class, Physics 1220. There is a 1 credit hour lab that goes with that, Physics 1240, and we have specific sections of these which I'll show you in a subsequent slide. You also need to start with your mathematics. Standard first semester course for a freshman is Math 1060. It's a 4 credit hour class, it's calculus of 1 variable. You may have credits for this and which allow you to move beyond it. You may also have questions about whether or not you're eligible to take it. I have a slide about that coming up. We have 1 required course in chemistry, Chemistry 1010, which comes with the co-requisite lab 1011. This is a 4 credit hour class. As I mentioned earlier, we have a 1 credit hour seminar for you in professional development. This is just to get you started in thinking about a career in physics. It's called CCPD 1400. And then we do suggest that you get started on your general education requirements, and there's a follow-up slide on these. So you would take 1 class, perhaps 3 credit hour. And finally, every student at Clemson is required to take a course called CU 1000 or Clemson Connect. This is on one of our next slides. It's a 0 credit hour class. So what we're predicting for you is a total credit hour count for the first semester, which is something on the order of 16. So the first class on my list was Physics 1220. That was Physics with Calculus 1. We do have a section for the majors, which you can sign up for if you'd like. So it's restricted to you only. Currently, it's listed as Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 10:10 to 11. The second class is the Physics 1240 lab. This is section 7 for majors only. Again, this is Tuesdays from 2 to 3:50 p.m. Now, for mathematics, this is the typical first course for a freshman is Math 1060, Calculus of 1 variable. There is a prerequisite to take that, which is based on the SAT or ACT would be greater than or equal to one of the scores you see here. If for some reason you don't reach that threshold, your next option is to do something called the Clemson Math Placement Test, or as we refer to it, the CMPT. The CMPT, you can go and take this through the math department. There's a website for that. The score you need to get there is greater than or equal to an 80. Now, beyond actually placing into this, you may be asking the question like, what if I have AP credit? So AP credit chart for Clemson currently shows that if you take the Calc AB and you get any score 3 or above, you get credit for Math 1060. If you take Calc BC and you get any score of 3 or above, you're going to get Math 1060 as well as the second course in the calculus sequence, Math 1080. And this is where I'm going to pause and just say that you should talk with your advisor about whether to take these AP credits or consider downgrading or retaking, because the math is sort of the backbone of what you need to do in physics, and the math you get at Clemson and the sequence of these courses is kind of interlinked in such a way that it might actually be useful to you to really get good bedrock preparation in Math 1060, and that's something you should talk with your advisor about before you make a choice of whether to proceed by taking your AP credits and moving into, say, the second course or even a third course in the sequence, if you should have credit for both. Now, some of you may be missing the prerequisite, so there are options for you to move forward such that you're off perhaps by 1 semester, and that's perfectly fine. A large fraction of our majors do that. So if you're missing the prerequisites for Math 1060, then one option is to take Math 1050 and Math 1051. This is pre-calculus. And this is 5 credit hours of pass-fail. This is to prepare you to move on into Math 1060. The second option is to take Math 1040, which is pre-cal and intro differential. This is also pass-fail, but it does have a SAT or ACT prerequisite associated with it. And we can help advise you with this if this happens to be where you land. Now, the non-physics and non-mathematics courses, the first of those is the general chemistry, which I mentioned. We have the one required chemistry class, which is 4 credit hour class. It's 4 credits because there's a 3 credit hour lab, and then there's a 3 credit hour lecture and a 1 credit hour lab. You may have already AP credit for this. So if you've taken the AP chemistry exam and you got a 3 or a 4, then you do get chemistry 1010. If you made a 5, you get both chemistry 1010 and 1020 credit. That 1020 credit is not required in the physics BS degree, but for instance, if you were going to do a minor in chemistry or a dual major in physics and chemistry, this 1020 could come in handy. The other non-physics, non-mathematics courses are our general education courses. These are required for all students at Clemson. Your requirements are pinned to your catalog year, so you need to look at your catalog year, which will be available here on the website. The course descriptions for the actual courses that are in the general education list are in IROR or that catalog. But I'm going to go over the relevant areas here for physics. There are areas within that general education that you're going to see, specifically one called natural science and mathematics that I'm not going to go over here. And you can guess why, because as a physics major, you're already taking science and mathematics. So you don't need to take general education courses there. You take them anyway. So the relevant areas for you would be, first, communications. The university requires you to take 6 credits in communications. One of those classes is hardwired to be English 1030, which is composition class. That's 3 credit hours. For College of Science students, this will be a spring semester course. The second is 3 credits in oral communications. Typically, they're communications 1500 or 2500. So that's either public speaking or just introductions to communication. The second set of 6 credits is in the area of arts and humanities. 3 of those is in a literature-based course, and 3 of those is in a non-literature-based course. And there's a list of these within the general education requirements in the Clemson catalog. The third set of 6 credits is in social science. The only caveat here is you look at the list, you pick 2 classes, with the caveat being they have to be from 2 different areas. So for instance, if you're coming in with AP credits, and let's say the most standard area for students is to come in with AP credits in history, then most likely your history credits are going to count for 3 of the 6 credits you need in social science, which means you only need 3 more. However, don't select social science from history if you already have history credits. They have to be from 2 different areas. So you would take your 3 credits, additional 3 credits from some different area. And finally, we have an area called Global Challenges. This is again the final 6 credit areas. These again have to be from 2 different areas, with the caveat that 3 of them have to be at the upper level, so the junior, senior level. And again, for all of these, there's a list of the general education requirements in the catalog. You may have AP credits that satisfy some of these, and we can advise you on that and take a look at those. Even if they haven't arrived, we can look at the charts and help you decide. As you go to sign up for perhaps one of these classes in your first semester, you need to consider multiple options. The reason being is because courses will fill up, so you need to have backups ready in case your first course on your list for Gen Eds is not available this semester. You just file that away and take it a subsequent semester, and choose your backup and hope that there's a seat available. I'll just reinforce that while this seems like it's outside of perhaps what you want to do, which is physics and mathematics, this is your opportunity to select courses that are of interest to you. So you should take a look at the list and have fun. These are typically non-physics, non-mathematics related courses, so this is your chance to explore other fields within the offerings of Clemson University. Finally, there is this class, CU 1000, called Clemson Connect. This is required of all first-year Clemson students. It's 0 credit, which means that although it's listed as pass-fail, and I hope you pass, you don't get any credits for it. The point of this class is to introduce new students to Clemson's resources, introduce you to what our ethics values are on the campus, when you actually sign up for the class and take it, you will see that the syllabus and assignments are going to be in our online management system, which is called Canvas. And most likely any details about the course, once you sign up for it, will be communicated to you through your Clemson email. That is, there will not be a physical class that you will be attending as part of CU 1000. But you need to add this to your schedule. This is something that's required of everyone. The time will be listed as to be announced, and typically only one section will be open for you. So please add CU 1000 to your schedule. So what's next? I encourage you to look over the curriculum map, certainly that first typical semester, and prepare a list of the courses that you're considering for the fall. Don't forget about your AP credits. And it's important, so pay attention here. If they are pending, which means you took the test, you're pretty sure you made a 3, a 4, or a 5, but the scores have not shown up at Clemson, which means they're being sent to Clemson University. Then when you go to sign up for a class, you will sign up for what's called a holding section of the next course. That will be called Section 888. This really specifically applies in the case for physics majors to mathematics. So the example would be, let's say you have AP credits for Math 1060, but those credits are pending, which means Clemson doesn't know that you have AP credits, but you know it. Then when you go and you say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and take Math 1080, then enroll in Math 1080, but sign up for Section 888. This ensures that the math department knows that you're planning on taking Math 1080. They're going to give you a seat in a class, but they're not going to put you there until they see that your AP credits land within your transcript. If that's confusing, or if any of this is confusing, that's fine, because we're going to talk to you. So I encourage you next, after you've looked over the map, prepared a list of courses, also prepare yourself with a list of questions and schedule an advising appointment with myself, Dr. Marler. In order to do that, you can email Ms. Hackett or you can use CU Navigate. If you have immediate questions or concerns right now after looking at these slides, then I encourage you to email me at my address is shown here. We look forward to working with you, and welcome to the Physics Department at Clemson University.